Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? What day is it, Lance?
It's hump day.
It's hump day here on UCY.TV, and you are listening to Boiler Room Radio. I am your host, Jim Funke, and this is Wednesday Night Live. It started raining here just a little while ago. Dampened my spirits. I was out walking the dog. Coming up the driveway, started getting smacked in the face with drops of wet stuff. Never know, man. I might have caught a hot particle from Whip or Fukushima or so. God, that's just terrible. Okay, I want to start this show off tonight, everybody. Everybody that's listening, I'm speaking solely, well, not solely. I'm speaking mostly to the UCY family, our family of dedicated listeners that tune in every day. As you guys noticed, when you open the website now, you see a couple little ads. They're very inconspicuous. They're not in the way, but they're going to help this station. And if you guys, with the economy and what Broncos doing to this country, nobody can afford to toss a whole lot of money around. So just clicking on those ads once a day, that's going to throw a few cents toward the network and help Jules cover some costs and stuff like that. Don't go click happy, because then she'll get banned. Or she'll get strikes against her or whatever. Don't just click. But just once a day, when you tune in to listen in, click on one of the ads, please, for just a minute. Let the page open up and then go right back. Doesn't cost you a dime. Throws the network a few cents. Help make ends meet. Thank you very much.
I hadn't seen the ads. What are they?
Actually, it's kind of like the rolling ads on Facebook. If you've been around searching websites or looking at different stuff here and there, it's going to pop up something that you're related to or that you're interested in or whatever. But and sometimes they just roll. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to be, yeah. And it, it just throws a couple cents to her. You can go check out the site, look at something that you might be interested in, and, doesn't cost you a dime,
Right. That's what I mean. You might even like something on the site.
And if you are partaking and spending some money, try to hit the Amazon store for UCY. It throws some coin her way too. If you're going to buy it anyway, why not tag through UCY and let them see a little bit of money? Mm-hmm. If you love us, we love you back. Okay. Moving on. We are now going to hammer home Smoke'em's Market Minute. What happened on Wall Street today, brother? I wasn't even paying attention. I was out back cutting down some underbrush and clearing a space for some chickens and working out the electric saw and all that good stuff. So
I noticed that. I had to search for my own damn stories today. I didn't have somebody feeding me my stories through Skype all day today.
My bad. Life got in the way.
I was going to say, it's got to be all right there, and he's out. If you have a 401k, it lost a little bit today, almost 1%, 0.5%.
Yikes.
It's still at 16,268. I know we'll still be doing a show when it's at 12,000. So, we'll see what happens. Could happen.
Unless a big
next
planet
month.
comes through our solar system. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That wasn't the announcement today by that.
No, what was the deep space phenomena or whatever? Some dark matter gets stuck in a satellite or something?
No.
What?
Oh, you didn't see the announcement? I was
outside, brother, cutting.
Okay, that's right. I kept hitting refresh in case everybody missed it. There was supposed to be some huge announcement. And all these sites started putting out, all the conspiracy theorists go ahead, start coming out, saying it's going to be Nibiru and all this other stuff. And I still say to this day, they will, even if Nibiru is true, which I believe it is, because Sumerian history has it much better than we do, they'll never announce it. But what it was was it an asteroid with rings is what they found.
Whoopee.
That's it. That's your major announcement. That was what all the hype was for, is they found an asteroid that has rings like Saturn, Jupiter, all the outer planets, how they have rings.
Well, Jupiters aren't really that visible.
Well, no.
Jupiter's rings are more in the atmosphere.
Right. And the article said that most of the outer planets do have rings, but Saturn is the most well-known one.
Right.
So there was your major announcement. So it wasn't enough to spook the markets. Like I said, it was down a little bit if you were buying a house. And actually I have a little bit of a story on that. If you were buying a house, it got a little bit cheaper today. Rates got a little bit better, or what the cost was with the rate.
What's it down to?
4.5. I mean, as just a standard rate, 4.5 would be a safe rate for everybody.
Right.
Existing home sales continue to operate in an anemic range. And, I've been kind of fighting you on this story for the last couple of weeks, if you notice that.
Sorry.
But I'm willing to admit it, because these are places that the weather really isn't affecting, where they're pulling these numbers from, which is California, for one. The latest existing home sale figures show the sales volume is back to where it was in July of 2012. And that's when rates started ticking up back then. And a large part of it is due to higher rates. The investors have been buying 30% of the market. People that are buying to flip them or turn them into rentals or whatever.
30%?
30%. Yeah. 30% of the market. Of the purchase market has been,
okay, but they haven't actually flipped them back out into the market, right? They bought them and now they're back on the market. So what?
Well, a lot of them wouldn't be. I mean, if you can buy one
sometimes
at half the value, if you can buy one at half the value and then rent it out, because you got to put 20% down. Right. So let's say you buy $180,000 house for $100, you put 20 grand down, so your mortgage is 80. You got $180,000 house, $160,000 house. Once you put a little bit of money, fix it up, and you can rent that thing out here for, $1,500 a month.
When you're flipping, and we're kind of getting off track, but I just want to answer.
No, it's still the market, yeah.
Okay, but when you're flipping, you have to resell that house in 90 days or something like that, don't you? Or you incur some kind of tax liability?
No, here's the thing on that. If you sell it within 90 days of owning it, it is harder for that person buying it to get a mortgage, because we require 2 appraisals, because of the flipping. If they're selling it for 100% more than they bought it for, which is a lot of times. What you're talking about is short-term capital gains.
That's why everybody wants to flip them quick.
No. Actually, if you keep them for less than 2 years, you're going to pay short-term capital gains. 12 months, you're going to pay short-term capital gains, and that's at like 30-something% for your tax.
Well, then why on all these flipping shows do you see these guys? Man, we got to get it done. We got to get it done. I got to get this house back on the market. That's all you see on those flipping shows. Well, at least it was when I was watching TV a couple of years ago. Because
they've used their money and they need to replenish their money.
Oh, I
so
got
they're
you.
using cash money instead of a thing. And actually on a Friday show, I'll go briefly into what's called a 1031 Starker tax exchange. So in case anybody wants to buy some properties, I can tell you how to do it tax free. There is a way to do it, and I'll get into it on the next show.
Right. Okay. Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that.
Oh, no. It's still on housing. So, I mean, that's all what my focus is anyway. So, there is a big story out here. Silver is the new. You know how much I like that website, because they're always be prepared for the next great transfer of wealth, buy physical and storable food.
That's right.
That's what they always say. So they, are even predicting that the shift in home sales is indicative of another great housing crash, just like 2007, because the traditional first-time home buyer, which is what fueled the market back then, it's so hard for them to buy a home now. Yep. It's not impossible, but it's much harder.
Yep.
So that's that story.
You got more than one?
I got one more. 2 more actually. Let me see here. Let me get rid of that. Don't want to talk about that one tonight. The dead bankers.
Oh, here we go. I heard there was another one.
There was another one.
Brazilian or something.
Yeah, but it was interesting because it actually happened 2 weeks ago and we're just hearing about it.
Well, imagine that. Along with the other 50 that we haven't found out about yet.
But
I don't know about the 50. I'm just making that number up.
No, V, the guerrilla economist,
I know. He said it was going to be in the hundreds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said it's a high number. But what's interesting is that the stories coming out about these people that have been suicided. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And they're basically all, I don't even know if you'd call them ad hominem attacks, but I mean, they're attacking the character and the backstory of all these people now. Deutsche Bank, Wall Street Journal was reporting that they did an interview with Deutsche Bank about one of their guys that killed himself and said that he was turned over for a promotion and he started drinking and then he started smoking and then he tried to stop smoking and stop drinking. And
oh my goodness. Must have been the worst 24 hours of his life.
So, they're trying to come up with these stories to get you off of the suicide or keep you on the suicide watch.
And they completely, if you read any of the stories about the dead bankers, people that add them up, almost exclusively, they leave out the nail gun. They leave out the nail gun guy.
I mentioned that to you because
I don't know why.
Implausible. It's so implausible.
Right. I mean, yeah. Well, that might be too, but I mean, he's one of them. Why leave his name out? He's at least one of them. You know what I mean?
No doubt. No doubt.
That's just kind of weird. Anyhow, keep going.
Jay Carney, who's a smooth ass talker. You got to admit, any White House spokesman is always going to be a smooth talker.
He's oily, man. He's oily.
All of them are. Show me one of them from the Reagan era on. It hasn't.
But anyway, keep going.
Did you hear his advice today?
No, I was outside.
Oh yeah. The White House press secretary says sell. And here's what I'm talking about.
The crash is coming. The crash is coming.
This is what, once again, it seems that common sense has escaped the masters of the universe on Wall Street. Last Tuesday.
The masters of the universe. Are you, sir? Who wrote that article?
This is Wall Street on parade.
Oh.
So I mean, it's tongue in cheek.
Okay.
Masters of the universe. Okay. Let's see. Press secretary told Assembly reporters that he would not recommend investing in Russian equities right now unless they are going to short them. Exactly 1 week later, which was yesterday, Morgan Stanley, which boasts $1.7 trillion in client assets, reinstated its buy on Russian equities.
So Boston's full of shit.
Yeah. So Carney was responding to a question from reporters, and he said, I think it's down for the year, and I think the ruble's lost value. And I think the long-term effect actions taken by the Russian government in clear violation of the UN Charter, in clear violation of its treaty commitments, they are destabilizing and illegal. And they will have an impact on their economy all by themselves.
Did the people on Capitol Hill up there in Washington, did they not know the word referendum? There was a referendum by the entire peninsula of Crimea, and 97% of the people that lived on that freaking piece of land said that they wanted to go back with Russia. It was not Putin in there pounding his gavel and saying, I'm taking it back.
We supported the same thing in Egypt.
Wake up.
I don't understand why
I know. Keep going.
Do it. Are you saying there's some hypocrisy going on here?
Just a smidge.
But they will incur costs because of the sanctions that we in the EU have imposed, and there will be more actions taken under the authorities that exist with 2 executive orders that the president has signed now. So I wouldn't, if I were you, invest in Russian equities right now. I think unless you're going short. And then a week later, Morgan Stanley comes out and says, buy.
Go long. Because our economy is getting ready to fall through the floor.
Yeah.
And Russia's going to be the place to have your cash. Or China.
There is, China, and I was reading, was it X22 or one of the other ones that you might have dropped to me? China bought 3/4 of the gold that was mined last month. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
3/4 of the gold that was mined on the planet.
On the planet.
On the planet.
And Brazil bought 16% of the silver. That was but the same period.
And you're still hearing a bunch of crap coming out of Wall Street and some of the other rags that cover the financials that China's on the verge of collapse. Their economy's in the toilet too. They're going to fall. The yuan is going to, or the renminbi, I guess, no, the renminbi's the internal, isn't it? Yeah, that's the internal. The yuan is just going to fall through the floor. Look, cats, they got all the gold on the planet.
Yep.
They got all the gold on the planet. So when Wall Street tanks and the dollar falls, they're going to be sitting pretty. Don't worry about China.
They'll be the next world currency.
Either
that or
it's going to go to a basket.
Backing,
it's going to go to a basket. But still, because U.S., we're still going to have to trade shit. You know what I mean? Even though our country's going to be in shambles and falling apart, still got to keep some kind of commerce going, right? So they can come in here and clean house.
I mean, we rely on too much in imports, but I think they proved that they could stop importing to us and still survive.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could still survive. Yeah, we are a gluttonous nation, but,
So are other people because we've put our agenda on the world.
Exactly.
The American Empire. Everybody wants their Nikes. Anyway.
My last story, which I thought was very interesting, and I don't know if you've seen this. In a rule released yesterday, the IRS says it will treat Bitcoin in other virtual currencies as property.
So we can tax the shit out of it.
And you were just saying about selling a house because of the capital gains. We were just talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what this article goes into.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinary income tax rate for capital gains, 39.6%. So
they're going to treat it like a commodity instead of a currency.
Exactly. So they said under this ruling, purchasing a $2 cup of coffee with Bitcoin bought for $1 would trigger $1 in capital gains for the drinker and $2 of income for the coffee shop.
Unbelievable, man.
So
we're going to get our hooks into you fuckers no matter what.
Exactly. So they're going to try to make it so unattractive to use that nobody wants to use it.
Yeah, people run away from it.
Right. And that ends my my run on stories here.
I told you folks from the word go about Bitcoin. It's a scam, and somebody's going to wind up getting rich, and it ain't going to be you, unless you've already sold them.
I was going to say it could have been if you would have bought last year, but
right. But you would have had to sell them.
Yeah,
because it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Taxes.
And if you look at the tax code, taxes are for self-employed people only because it's based on profit.
Yeah.
And a W-2 worker doesn't make profit. The employer makes profit.
That's right. You make
there's
wage.
A number of people, exactly. There's a number of people that have fought the IRS on this and won, but you just never hear about it because then everybody would want to start doing it.
Right. And there'll be a stipulation in the ruling when they give them their money back that says you can't tell nobody that you kicked our ass in court. Okay. We're going to give Scott his 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Firing. Oh. Daggone it.
Ad.
Ooh, virtual stuff on it.
Hello, this is Scott and this is a Hype Report. Today's report is sponsored by the free book Ramblings of a Madman. Here are the quotes for various items. First, Bitcoin is property. Under a new IRS ruling, Bitcoin investors will be treated like stock investors as Bitcoin has been declared a property and not as a currency. This opens up a can of worms for Bitcoin investors who have to report capital gains and losses and keep extensive records. Next, the truth will emerge. According to Richard Russell, Main Street America is really hurting for cash and income. He goes on to say that lower income, unemployment, and rising prices are a vicious combination which we are seeing now. He also has no doubt that ultimately the truth of the real U.S. economy and the stock market will emerge as the Fed's manipulation has its dire consequences. However, he believes that things will work out. Next, currency is an IOU. The Bank of England let the cat out of the bag with a report that details how central banks can create currency out of thin air. This dose of honesty throws the theoretical basis of austerity out the window and essentially shows that currency is worthless. With their ability to make currency out of simple loans, this scam should become obvious to anyone paying attention. Historically, the Bank of England has tended to be a bellwether. Therefore, it will be interesting to see what comes of this revelation. Next, 9 conspiracies that happened. Here are a few. 1. People died because the Department of Treasury poisoned alcohol during Prohibition. 2. Military leaders planned terrorist attacks in the U.S. to support a war with Cuba in 1962. 3. The U.S. government sold weapons to Iran, violating an embargo, and used the money to support the Nicaraguan militants. Next, retirement. Among households that earn less than $25,000 a year, about 75% have less than $1,000 saved. Among those with six-figure incomes, 40% have saved at least $250,000 and 10% have saved at least $1 million. In addition, 12% of those with six-figure incomes have less than $25,000 for retirement. Next, drone-assisted hunting. Hunting in Alaska with the help of drones will be illegal later this year when new regulations take effect. Does this mean that Obama and his thugs will no longer be able to hunt people in Alaska? Considering that he has already broken so many laws, the answer is a resounding no. Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest.
I hadn't heard that one today. That was pretty funny, that last one.
I hadn't either.
I didn't hear, well, I kind of half-assed listened to Manarino when I was sitting in front of my computer doing some other stuff today. So I really don't know how pertinent he is to this whole deal. But, you know, I mean, he's worth a listen. It's only 7.5 minutes. And then, at the end of the whole market breakdown here, which usually takes our first half hour,
Yep.
We're going to bring Chuck and his wife Kim in, and we're going to start talking about these drugs that they're trying to kill people with.
Awesome.
Execution style.
Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Okay.
So let's hear Greg real quick, and then we'll take off down the other rabbit hole.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Greg Manarino. How are you today? It is
really
Wednesday, March 26th, 2014. And people, what a day on Wall Street. I hope you've been paying attention to this.
We try.
Let's start here. First of all, the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished down 99 points after being up 96 points. And all of the talking heads on the financial channels just don't get it. They don't understand what's going on. It's kind of funny. Earlier in the day, we were seeing all the smiles and cartwheels that they were doing because apparently orders for durable goods just hit a 3-month high. And they're saying the market is up on good economic news. It's just so stupid. Yesterday, consumer confidence numbers are absolutely fake. Today, we found out again, mortgage applications fell. There's no economic news here that's good anywhere, people. What else did we hear today? I mean, more laughable things. The Fed, Bullard, he came out stating that at the end of this year, he's expecting 6% unemployment. Really? Is he talking about the real numbers or the fake ones? You have to understand, and I think you do if you follow this blog, we could have 46. An unemployment rate of 0. All they're going to do is stop counting people that have left the workforce because they can't find a job. So maybe that's what he's talking about, because we still have a labor force participation rate near historic lows. You know, you really got to look back and laugh at this. So today's market action, I think, once again, is maybe the equity market's getting a dose of reality. That's all this is, you know, and you got to be able to see the nonsense because it's just so in our face. It's absolutely scary, honestly. What else did we hear today? French unemployment or unemployment claims the highest in history. Oh yeah, the global economy is looking great. And what about what's going on here in the Ukraine? Oh, that's okay too. So, you know, I mean, really, that's what's going on here. That's what caused a 200-point swing today in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The stock market as a whole is so distorted, people, and I can't stress this enough. I've gone over it so many times. It's unbelievable. And there are those out there that believe that the market is going to go much higher here. I don't believe that's true. I cannot see it. As a matter of fact, again, I am still short this market. And for those of you that are writing to me about whatever it is. Look, I'm not a day trader. I've gone over this. I don't care about the fluctuations that happen on a day-to-day basis or even on a week-to-week. All right, I went over this about my current positions that I'm holding on my site, traderstreets.net.
Nope.
Please check it. So do not email me about.
He was trained as a market analyst, actually.
Yep.
He wasn't even trained to be a trader. He just jumped into trading because he saw that he could make big money doing it. Because he doesn't. Right. Because he doesn't listen day to day.
Right.
He does longs and he does shorts and he watches history.
Emails and the frankly idiotic comments from some of you out there. And I know it's not my regular subscribers. It's the frankly imbeciles, who just don't get it. And I would put my trading record against any one of them. In fact, anyone ever. Any day. That's a fact. I mean, really, people, I post my positions, my winners and losers right on my website. Please look at my record year to date. It's right on the first page of my website. So please, all of you out there, spare me the nonsense. Seriously. But for those of us that do get it here, I want to talk about a few other things. What else happened today? Not only did we have this incredible 200-point swing in the Dow, we saw a major move again into bonds. I think the 10-year finished up over 1.5 percentage points. Now gold is very interesting right now, people, and I talked about this maybe a few videos ago. It looked to me that it might have been a good entry point for the paper derivatives market. And I told you, I don't play this game. I just suggested that maybe if you wanted to look at it, because I got so many comments about it, it's all manipulated and it's all fake. But at the same time, I think it may be trying to tell us something.
All manipulated.
And I'm not convinced at this point that short-term losses are done. I would not be surprised to see this market action proceed on for the next couple of days, maybe even into next week. We'll definitely have to see how this plays out here. Again, I am suggesting being long volatility here. And again,
so he thinks it's going to go up?
The major indices and the short emerging markets. Let me just talk about that real quick. Mm-hmm. Again, you have to know how to play these things, people. Again, I have my picks that
I think he's going to go back into talking to the homies. Okay, so he thinks it's going to go back up short term. So what we're looking at June for the crash then, maybe? So it's May. I mean, March, April,
term,
May, June.
I mean, short term is 30, 45 days.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You know, we're almost to the end of March, so that'd be April, May. And then maybe 6 weeks into June, or, 6 weeks into the middle of June, end of June. Oh, man, it's so hard to nail these fuckers down.
It's so hard to nail. And, what Barry said at the end.
A bomb might go off in Manhattan. Holy shnikes.
And this is what it was, and we found this out in Syria, since we're off of the market stuff now. We found that out in Syria, that we couldn't get America to back a war, but we could for Afghanistan because they attacked us. And I'm doing my quote unquotes in the air, attacked us. So if what Barry said is correct, theorizing, postulating that one did go off in New York, blame it on somebody. Who do we need to attack right now? I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine because the choices are pretty big right now, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you're going to get America to back another war. I think they found that out in Syria last summer.
It's
crazy.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap your mind around it sometimes when you realize what's going on. And, I just want to throw this out really quick before I call, Chuck and Kim and get them in here. I'm getting ready to Skype him, actually, see if he's good to go. Mm-hmm. We gave Ukraine $5 billion. And I was talking to you yesterday about this whole IMF deal that they're getting ready to sign. And they're going to start into the austerity cuts because the IMF is going to give them $15 billion. So they're going to start into these austerity cuts. They're going to cut, I think first thing that goes is, savings and stuff by 40%. I sent you all the numbers yesterday. I can't remember, but state-run salaries are going to be frozen for 5 years. Price of gas. That's what it is. Price of heating your home is going to go up 40%. That's what was going up 40%.
Right.
And just all these austerity cuts immediately upon them signing the paper, these things go into effect. And we gave them 5 and they're only getting 15 from the IMF. So why don't they just sit on that $5 billion and run it out for a little while and see what happens? Why all of a sudden do you want to dive into the Eurozone, which is getting ready to fail too, as miserably as the dollar?
Yes.
And sign on to all that debt. I don't understand what's going through these people's heads. It's got to be the game.
I think the EU's getting ready to do a Cyprus on most of the European countries over there, actually. From what I've read.
Exactly what it is. Almost everything word for word from the IMF was what the Troika told Greece.
Yes.
And Cyprus. And Italy. And now France is in the mix too. I guess France is getting ready to say, hey man, we're out of money.
We need to borrow something.
Who else? It's not going to be Germany, because they got all the cards, chips, whatever.
The last thing I wanted to throw out there for everybody to ponder as we go on into the rest of the show is you and I had talked about this the other day. Remember they started out, it was an $85 billion program that the feds were contributing towards bonds, mortgages buying, and then they cut it down 10 and then they cut it down 10 again. Remember?
Yeah. Cut it.
So let me give this, just pose this question to everybody in the room. There weren't $40 billion worth of mortgages originated on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
But for years, they've been printing $85 billion a month for the sole purpose.
Well, it was even more than that. I don't know how much they allocated to mortgages.
We were saying 110. Yeah,
right,
we were saying
127.
110. Yeah, exactly. You're right. I'm sorry. But the number that was in the papers was 85 billion. It was 40 for one and 45 for another. The Fannie Freddie, one of the bonds. So if there weren't even close to that many mortgages being originated every month, where in the hell was all that money going that they were printing that's on our debt thing now? Anybody ever thought about that?
Well, that's like asking where's all the money from Social Security from the people that died before they started collecting. Where'd all that money go?
That's a sore spot on me too.
Where'd all that money go?
You hear how Social Security's broke, but you never hear how welfare's broke. Interesting.
But we still got $5 billion to send over to Ukraine, just out of thin air. We're broke like a joke, dude, but we got $5 billion to send you guys. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Good evening, Chuck O'Celli.
All of us be
Good evening, Jim.
How are you this evening, my brother?
I'm all right. Kim is actually sitting next to me tonight, so.
Oh, all right. You're both going to shout into the same mic, huh?
Yeah. Is it all right sound-wise?
Yeah, you sound great. No, you sound great.
All right, cool.
So what do you think? Chime in on what we've been talking about so far. I know you've been listening.
Well, I've been listening, and first of all, the Social Security thing, the problem with I've asked that question several times, and I was finally pointed to a piece of legislation during the Clinton administration where they took down the partition on that. That's why. That money doesn't exist in a separated account like it's supposed to. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You can find it. It was during all that deregulation. They took down the partition.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Because otherwise, you would be collecting the aggregate amounts of all those people that died in their 20s, 40s, 30s, 50s, so on. And where did that money go?
Back in their pocket.
It goes right back into the
DARPA
overall
fund.
Budget.
The black budget.
Chuck, can I ask you a question?
Along with the $590 left over from the $600 hammer that they bought at true value.
Right.
But I want to ask Chuck a question on Social Security then, since we're on it.
Sure.
I remember reading a thing where if they were to have instead taken the money and kept it at the U.S. government, that they put that money into our own savings accounts that we still couldn't touch until we were 62 or 65, Do you ever remember reading an article about that? And
we'd all be millionaires.
The average person would have like $380,000 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just on simple interest.
On simple interest.
Basic interest, like from a normal interest-bearing savings account, you could live to be 115 years old, they said.
Right.
Without a problem.
A forced IRA.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that was before inflation.
But that makes too much sense.
And manipulation.
If you really cared about the people, that would make much more sense, but.
We care about the little people.
Of course, the other diversifying factor, though, is the expansion and then the contraction again of the eligibility, because there was a whole bunch of people that were made eligible, through various disabilities, and some of them were in political waves where, politically correct certain disabilities were allowed. Like at one point, alcoholism was an allowable disability.
Oh, for crying out loud. Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding you.
How about flat back? Was flat back a disability back then?
Might as well have been.
Mm-hmm. That's an inside joke. Sorry.
I hear you, but I kid you not. It was really, if you look back a little bit, I think it was, the year eludes me slightly, but I think in, 98 or 97. You got to look back at it though. The regulations shift and then they get rid of them. You can't find copies anymore usually, but I mean, there are databases for it where alcoholism, because it was classified as a disease by the CDC, any chronic disease that, didn't have a cure and all this could also be visited as a disability for SSI.
Well, so's my effing toe jam.
Yeah, right. Right. Oh, I'm not reporting this to you like I'm happy about it.
Well, I know. I'm just saying.
Listen, I'm trying to be calm. Do you know why? Because we were going to talk about the whole drug thing, and I've got plenty to say about that.
Oh, right.
But I didn't get a lot of research done on it. Okay.
Well, you saw that I dropped you a couple of things from Jules that Jules dropped me, and I got a couple more pulled up on the screen here too. So we'll have plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah.
And we'll run it. And I got the phones open too, by the way, if anybody else wants to add in 718-717-8296. We're going to talk about these killer drugs that the states are trying to execute people with. And we're going to jump off into the 1,000 years in 8.5 hours type of deal too. So, if anybody wants to chime in, here we go. But
I'm more than happy to talk about my evolving sort of, understanding about the death penalty as well, which Kim disagrees with me about. So that ought to be fun.
Public discourse is always fun on UCY.
Absolutely. But you know what? I want to hit something real quick, and it probably will take me about 2 minutes, but
be my guest.
I got so pissed this week because I flipped on a television for the first time in months. Okay. And
Did you wash your eyes after?
Listen, man, you know what? I barely have any eyesight, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, and a lot of people don't know this, but right now my right eye is almost completely disabled. And the thing is, I'm staring at this thing with my one good eye and getting irritated by the moment. Okay. Cause I flip on HBO. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bill Maher.
And I get Bill Maher.
Oh my God, dude. You need to wash your ears too.
Listen, Bill Maher didn't piss me off. Okay. Not the segment I was watching. What pissed me off was the whole thing with Errol Morris. Okay. Do you guys know who he is?
No.
Lance?
Never heard him.
Never heard him. You ever hear of a documentary called The Fog of War?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He made that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Decent documentary filmmaker. To me, that was a revolutionary film because you had, now I just got my earpiece knocked out.
PTSD, all that.
It was a revolutionary film focused on McNamara, which you're aware of, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're talking about Vietnam, and we're talking about exposing the guts of why that went into, which it wasn't really done because after all, there's a whole sort of, discontinuity between the idea that Kennedy started the war and everything else. Meanwhile, Eisenhower was the first one to move the troops in there. Kennedy was pulling them out by the end of calendar year 1965. And before his body was cold in the ground, Johnson reversed it. Now.
Yeah, that was right after he took the swearing in on the plane.
You're damn right. He arrived in Washington and had a meeting I think that night. Mm-hmm. Okay, with his Joint Chiefs, which he had inherited now from the Kennedy administration. Most of the administration did not change. Okay, he added a few people, but most of the administration did not change because he needed to be able to push policies through in a legitimate fashion. Johnson, if nothing else, was a shrewd politician. Forget my judgments on Johnson. Forget my judgments on McNamara, who deserves a special place in hell for giving us Vietnam, okay?
Right.
Forget it. Errol Morris, however, is putting out another documentary. And he's done work over the years, of course. I mean, it's not like he's only done 2 damn films in his lifetime. But this new film is called The Unknown Known. Okay?
Kind of play on Rummy.
Oh, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Rumsfeld. Oh, there we have known knowns and unknown knowns and known unknowns and unknown unknowns.
There you go. You damn right.
Come on, dude. That's like quadruple speak.
Yeah, but guess what?
Go for it.
Now we're getting a fog of war, but Rumsfeld style. Okay?
Because it's all lies, dude. Everything they do is a goddamn lie.
Well, but this was his point. All right? You know,
right,
I mean,
right, okay. Keep going.
You know, you're looking at, but here was the amazing thing is that Morris, even though he's one of these liberal filmmakers, and look, I can sit here and take all kinds of arguments with him, but he said some pretty profound things, okay? And that is that, and McNamara, because we had brought up the other night when I said to you that I had talked to McNamara myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not a very interesting piece of tape. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But there was a profound thing that occurred toward the end of McNamara's life. He had some remorse about what he had participated in. He was pushed into it by...
That's because hindsight's 20/20, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got to be able to think on your feet.
I hear you. I'm not apologizing for the man. I said, he deserves a special place in hell.
Right.
You know, I got serious personal issues with that whole thing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Morris looks at Bill Maher, and Bill Maher's like, well, Rumsfeld, like almost Bill Maher is apologizing for Rumsfeld. Okay? Think about how backwards ass that is, first of all. Second of all, he's sitting there discussing how Rumsfeld has absolutely no remorse about what he did. Okay? Both of those unjustified, illegal incursions. All right? You're telling me this man has zero remorse at this point in time? None.
You know, Bill Maher.
I can believe that.
Yeah. Bill Maher has been flip-flopping around for about the last 3 or 4 years, because he was like full on the bandwagon with Bronco, and now he's starting to bash on Bronco. And you know, he used to be a flaming, you know, red flag liberal, and now he's starting to throw some conservative viewpoints out there. I think he's trying to keep his audience. Is all I think he's trying to do. You know, because he'll go extreme one direction, then he'll go extreme another direction. I don't even listen to him.
Well, look, I thought this was worth mentioning, but the Errol Morris piece was definitely worth watching, okay? Because Morris at one point in the film asked him, why did you even talk to me? Okay? And he said, and Rumsfeld looks at him and says, that's a vicious question. Never answers the damn question, but says that's a vicious question. Cute, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about obfuscation and evasion. I mean, I don't understand, like, if McNamara deserves that spot in hell, Rumsfeld needs to be his footstool there.
Yeah.
I mean,
they all got a special spot.
And Karl Rove right next to him.
Oh yeah, that guy's just evil.
Oh yeah, well,
he's the apologist.
He's the devil.
Yeah. He just, yeah.
I mean, and I've got no agreements with both of these guys. I mean, you know, I was disgusted by both of them, but Morris at the very least is exposing something that he does recognize as evil and not just waving a flag. You know, even though, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It just, if you catch that on the internet or you catch a piece of it somewhere, if you can withhold the taste of vomit in your mouth, okay, just imagining this smug, self-satisfied, because Rumsfeld has never been anything but a smug, self-satisfied piece of garbage, okay?
Yeah, because his paycheck's all cleared, man. He didn't give a shit.
But he doesn't give a shit about anything.
No.
You know, and I'm talking about, you know, from aspartame to this.
Yeah, no.
You don't care how many boxes he fills.
No. He's part of the club. That's Skull and Bones is nothing but a blood club. When those people get together and start talking with each other and shit, it's nothing about how many bodies can we put in the ground this year. You know, what kind of wars can we start?
It's just when Lance says stuff like, how is it that these guys can do stuff to the world that they got to live in? Look at that guy.
Some of them are just completely apathetic. They're just obtuse.
It's a moral obtuse, though. It's not even a matter of, psychologically, they fully understand what it is they're doing.
As long as it doesn't affect them, they don't care.
There you go. It's a moral obfuscation and morally obtuse, like, just way of being.
Do you realize how many people you're killing over there in that war? None of them's my family. So what?
Basically. And hysterically, when he was asked about Vietnam, he basically took the attitude of, well, some things work out, some things don't.
Right. Population control.
Remember when I talked to you about the whole unemployment thing?
Mm-hmm.
It was when I was a kid. Somebody told me, well, the Vietnam War was really just to, reduce the unemployment numbers right off the bat. That's all that was. I was stunned by it and didn't want to believe it. But the more I look into this stuff, that could have easily been the motive for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because there wasn't no gold or oil in Vietnam.
Nope.
Or Cambodia or any effing place else they were over there. No, that was totally just wiping people off the planet and making big holes in the ground.
That and also allowing, a better flow of human traffic and opium. But, because you had the triangle right there.
And trafficking humans.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Human trafficking and opium.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but both things are, they're valuable commodities. People aren't, people that are allowed to live as people aren't anyway. Slavery's okay.
Well, we're all slaves right now.
Oh, I know,
we just don't admit it. We just don't admit it to ourselves. We're slaves to that dollar.
Some of us don't.
Yeah, true.
Well, anyway, so, I had to say something about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Because it turned not just my stomach. I could feel my whole body twisting like a rag.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
But it's just disgusting that, like, people say to me that, why do you keep talking about Vietnam during your stuff? You keep relating stuff back to that. It's because we're suffering the reoccurring theme.
Yeah, it happens all over. It happens all over because nobody pays attention to history. I say that all the time.
Oh, yeah, but I got way too much love, and I'm so sick and tired of this whole, well, don't you support the troops? You know what? I want to tell you where to stick your stupid yellow thing, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I support the troops plenty as individuals because I don't want to see them ground up and thrown into the mulch pile, okay?
Right. I just don't support the military.
Thank you. Anyway.
Got a caller just came in, 801. I think that's Mike from SLC.
That would be me.
I haven't talked to you in a long time, brother.
Yeah, I know, and this may be the last time for a while because I'm moving and going to lose my, Twitter net, right?
So where are you headed? Is it the Batcave? I mean, the undisclosed above ground location?
Yeah, underground location out there in the middle of,
BFE.
Somewhere. Yeah.
So once you get there, though, you're going to have all the interweb set up and back on the air, yeah?
Yeah, one day probably, for sure. Maybe, barring any further interference, but...
You'll still have the cell phone, though, yeah?
But, yeah. Right. So I wanted to mention about something about supporting the troops,
Okay, sure.
Our military is not defensive. We are now... the Bush doctrine, following the other doctrines of preemptive defense. If we think you might possibly have a weapon we don't like you to have, then we claim the right to go in preemptively and defend ourselves by blowing the shit out of your family. Right? That's what we claim. That's what America does. So our troops are committing literal war crimes. I do not support them. They need to pull their head out of their ass and realize what they're doing and mutiny completely.
They have forgotten.
They are being told to do things that are totally immoral. Sorry.
Yeah, well, they have forgotten their ability to question unlawful orders.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that, because that's in the oath you take. That's part of what you do when you enter the military. I will not follow unlawful orders.
And it has been unlawful as long as we have been going into countries and attacking them without a formal declaration of war from the Congress, which hasn't happened in my lifetime, I don't think.
Right.
So you understand that this is only one little tiny thing. The other thing is these wars of acquisition and conquest that ultimately only benefit the globalist banksters and continually in debt further and further and further the children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren for as long as they can string this thing out, and then maybe it is Hunger Games or whatever. But I do not support the military. I do not support military spending. I do not. If American military were to disappear and Team America were to go away, nobody would step into the ring anyway. Because why? Because nobody wants to die. We are the aggressors. America goes worldwide doing the bombing out of what? It's not fear. There are no terrorists other than the terrorists that are financed by the people to create these divisions and these false flags to perpetuate their grabbing title to every resource on the planet. And it's easy to see this.
But it's a perpetuation.
I don't support them.
But it's a perpetuation of the boogeyman effect, okay? Because it was the communist Vietnamese that were not terrorists, okay? They were not terrorists. And 58,000, and these body counts are sickeningly low, by the way. 58,000 men dead, okay, that's one. But the amount of wounded men, the amount of damaged men returned is minimally 1 million.
Why did require us to do
1
this
million.
anyway? What was the change in? Where did the change in American policy to actually get involved come from? I mean, honestly, where did that come from? McNamara, where did he get his policy from? He was told to by the military people at Bell Helicopter and the tank guys and the F-4 manufacturers that they wanted this war. They wanted the appropriations. And so there was a huge financial incentive to do this.
Right, but strategic supremacy was supposed to be held at a certain level because they didn't want that so-called domino effect. This was the nonsense that was being bounced around at that time, that if they allowed certain of these small nations to fall, they would all fall, and then the Soviet bloc would grow. And if the Soviet bloc grew, then they would have more of a chance to be aggressive. They would go and sweep take over the rest of Germany, all this other nonsense. Like the whole thing with the Cuban Missile deal that we brought up the other night. You know, the one thing I did forget to bring up about those tactical nukes, Jim, was this. There was 9,500 Marines and sailors on Guantanamo at that point in time. Not the CIA, not the U-2s. Nobody knew that there were tactical battlefield nukes trained on those 9,500 men, okay, that they would have used in the case of an invasion, as opposed to that blockade. All right? But this was the change. As soon as Johnson came in, the entire situation changed. He met with the Joint Chiefs. He basically told them, and it's been a famous line repeated, but you can get it from the Johnson Library if they'll allow you to have the tapes still, that basically he said, get me elected. You'll have the war.
Yeah, I know. I've heard about all that too.
But it wasn't just about the money in the banks. I mean,
no, it's more than that. But
hell with the money. The spiritual damage, the absolute mutilation of American society in my lifetime began during that war. Okay? Because if you return 1 million damaged men and you don't return a minimum of 58,000 bodies, what does that do to the families? What does that do to us sitting here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it started the whole decline in the belief and faith in the United States government.
The devastation of our society just on a local level.
Those veterans came back and they got they got shit on by the VA. They got shit on by their government. They didn't, nobody followed through.
Korea was also a cluster.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also.
They decided, hey, if my government doesn't got my back, then hey, I'm not going to have theirs no more. And I'm going to let everybody know how I feel.
But a lot of those guys from Korea were at least allowed to decompress from battle fatigue. Okay?
Yeah. But that's where they got money hungry. And then this meddling in the Asian theater, because it was far away from America, and they could they thought, keep
on the hush hush.
Yeah, keep the public away. But after a while, how long did the Vietnam War go on? Like 12 years or some crap? I can't remember.
Depends on where you start counting it from, okay? Because if you look back at Laos and Indochina prior to that, the incursions began there. And the CIA was on the ground long before we declared it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it depends on how you look at where it started.
So that's a whole generation of people that have learned to not trust the government. Now we have another generation of people that have learned that the government is simply lying. They don't know why the government is lying. They don't know the powers behind it because they're always sent off on these left-right paradigm marches where the next guy in line is going to fix it all.
If they bother to look up,
everybody knows something's pretty screwed up.
Yeah, if they bother to look up from Angry Birds and PlayStation 4, they might happen to notice that there's Obama and God knows whatever, stiff-ass white man they put on the other side to, prop up the fake debate. Sure. It's a distraction. Even for those who care, it's a distraction.
But they won't see anything on TV about Obama and the stiff white guy. They'll see the Malaysian 370.
Well, because that's a whole lot more sensational.
Right. And now that they've declared it completely missing into a black hole, what are they gonna drop now as the distraction? Because you sure don't want to focus on Ukraine, because the daily route of Putin handing Bronco his ass when it comes to world affairs is it's not good for the U.S.
Oh yeah.
So
well, most Americans don't really care about foreign policy. It's all that politics and history bullcrap. They don't really don't care. They have dumbed down enough of the people in America that we are like the few sheep on the outside, trying to get through the fence, and everybody else is contentedly munching their mainstream media entertainment.
Doritos. Yeah.
Grass.
And when John Stewart provided us with about the most intelligent review of what happened with Putin over there that I saw in the mainstream overall, it's real sad.
Oh,
John Stewart's no dummy. He's got he's got a total grasp.
In it because he avoids certain. Remember, what you look for is the subjects that are not talked about.
Right.
Again. So there's many subjects that are, because they cloud the issue once you don't point the figure anywhere. It's muddying the waters. It's creating a quagmire.
That is exactly how obfuscation is achieved. You allow a whole lot of cover stories and smoke screens to come up. Instead of the real issues, you throw out some of the real facts to legitimize your bullshit. And then you throw it at everybody and you go, see, we can't really figure it out anyway. That's the bottom line there. What the hell was that noise? Wow. Okay.
You okay over there, Lance? Was that a bomb going off in your location?
No, it wasn't me.
No, it was my phone beeping at me.
Oh shit. Are you running out of battery? Are you running out of battery?
I'm running out of battery.
Oh,
but I'll let it beep. It'll beep for a few minutes. I'll sit here and talk to you for a minute.
Right on.
Sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to take up all your time, but.
No, you didn't take up. It's not my time. It's our time. It's your time. We're talking. I like this.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh, good, man. I always like Mike. I'm going to miss him. He's going to be out of there for a little bit, so.
Yeah, how long do you think the whole move's going to take, brother?
I don't know. It depends if, I'm counting on 12 hours. Yeah, my phone's going to toast on me. So, hey, you guys have a great night. I'll watch you in chat. I know you don't do that. And just remember, I just remember, as they have always said for at least since the Greeks, this is all as theater. This is a game. This is a stage. And it has been played for so long. And it's just, we can be upset, but don't be depressed.
Let them eat cake.
From the days of the shadow puppet theater on the cave wall.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Don't look at the door back there. There's no real outside. It's all right here on the wall.
Well, thanks, Jimmy.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Mike. I'm going to miss you, brother. When are you taking off?
I'm not going too far, too long. It'll be a while, but,
All right, right on.
It'll be good.
All right. Call in again Friday then. You too, man.
Okay. See you, Lynn.
See you.
Bye.
All right. It's the top of the second hour. We're going to jump off into this drug thing now. Because it's kind of creepy, the whole where they're going with this. And the fact that they would just inject a human being with drugs to watch him die in the first place is kind of
right.
You know.
Right. What you dropped me was about the phenobarbital. Well, it's not phenobarbital. It's similar to phenobarbital, which is produced by the Danish company there.
Right.
And that is the drug that they had to substitute because they're apparently not getting it shipped to them when they want it. So now they're trying to use other.
Well, didn't that company say we're not going to ship it to you, period, because you people are killing people with it?
Well, that was the thing, but they don't want it to completely remove it from the market because it is effective. I know there was a debate about that, and there was that difficulty with that guy because he spent like 30 minutes literally suffocating.
I got that story. I'm going to read that story here in a minute.
There you go. Okay, well, why don't you read that because that's real key to the issue here.
Oh, okay. This is quite a while back. You people will remember January 10th. There was a gentleman, excuse me, in Oklahoma who felt his whole body burning. Hang on a second.
That's all right. Take a minute. I mean, look,
I just have once in a while I get a frog. So
it's cool. It's cool. You good now?
Yeah.
And I was just going to fill for you, but go ahead.
His name is Michael Lee Wilson, and he was executed using pentobarbital, which is the substitute drug for phenobarbital. An Oklahoma man reportedly said, "I feel my whole body burning," as he was executed by lethal injection Thursday. This was January 10th. Was killed using the controversial mix of drugs that civil rights groups say constitutes cruel and unusual punishment. Michael Lee Wilson, 38, was executed using a cocktail of drugs including pentobarbital. Prison officials confirmed to Time magazine. The use of pentobarbital in lethal executions has become increasingly common since sodium thiopental, the drug historically used as an anesthetic, became unavailable in 2011 after the manufacturer stopped supplying it for executions.
That's the drug that they stopped supplying.
Okay. The pentobarbital is considered a controversial substitute for sodium thiopental because manufacture is often poorly regulated and contaminated batches can cause excruciating pain prior to death. Tanya Green, Advocacy and Policy Council on Criminal Justice Issues for the ACLU, said that the use of pentobarbital in executions is unconstitutional as it violates the Eighth Amendment's protection against cruel and unusual punishment. Use of the drug in executions, she said, is basically an experiment on human beings. The risk of extended painful death is very high, and the European manufacturer of pentobarbital objects to its use to kill and has stopped selling the drug to the U.S. for use in executions. Wilson's cry that he felt his whole body burning after he was injected with the drug may bolster civil rights groups' case that pentobarbital should be banned from use in lethal injection. Lundbeck, a Danish pharmaceutical company that produces pentobarbital, announced in 2011 that it would stop supplying the drug for use in lethal injections since Denmark abolished the death penalty years ago. Lundbeck's refusal to supply pentobarbital to U.S. prisons has caused a drug shortage that has led to some prisons using a synthetic version of the drug made in compounding pharmacies. What the hell is that? Which are not regulated by the FDA. Not regulated by the FDA.
In some cases, those are Chinese manufacturers. In some cases, those are Indonesian manufacturers that are not being regulated the same way that our normal pharmaceuticals are regulated. Right. That's right. Yeah.
These unregulated drugs have been subjected to less rigorous testing and may include contaminants that cause significant pain. Oklahoma Department of Corrections spokesman Jerry Massey was unable to comment on the source of the pentobarbital used to kill Wilson. Wilson was convicted of robbery and first-degree murder in the killing of one of his convenience store co-workers in 1995. Two of his accomplices were already executed, and the third is serving a life sentence. Before he was injected, he said, "I love everybody." Then once the warden ordered the execution to begin, he said, "I love the world, love my daughter for me. I'm going to miss you always, blah, 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 blah."
Okay, now let us understand a couple of things, all right? First of all, the Eighth Amendment, based on, what is cruel and unusual punishment, that's a pretty open-ended sort of,
Right. According
definition. To who? According to whom? Exactly. What standard are we using as cruel and unusual? That's the first problem.
Yeah. If the guy's Jewish and you constantly slide ham sandwiches in his cell, is he going to bitch about that?
Yeah, well, whatever, right? But here's the other problem. Let's think about this when it does work properly. Okay? Excuse me. There are 3 drugs which are injected. Okay? There's various cocktails that can be used, but this is the gist of all of the combinations, the way they work, when they work exactly as they're supposed to. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Your first, basically supposed to be rendered unconscious.
Right. A sedative.
That is the anesthetic or a sedative or an overdose of sedative, which causes you to be put to sleep, basically.
Yeah.
Then all muscle is stopped. All of your ability to operate your muscle electrically, chemically is then put to a stop with another flush of chemical.
Right.
Then
Stops your
breathing,
diaphragm. Yeah.
Then breathing is stopped. But you are beginning to suffocate where you can't expand your chest anyway.
Right.
And how
it's
is
like drowning.
Yeah, it's like drowning and you can't do anything about it.
And supposedly you're supposed to be unconscious for that. But if you witnessed executions, or if you've talked to anybody that's witnessed executions, and I have talked to someone that's witnessed 2 of them, mm-hmm. and they were both lethal injection. They said the guy's eyes were open until his heart stopped. Right. So he was not unconscious. He might not have been feeling nothing, but he was fully wide awake and looking at us all.
There's no way to ask him.
Right. No, he can't speak.
So that's the end of that.
Right.
All right.
So as far as the sedative, I guess it don't work, right?
It doesn't work anyway. And the use of phenobarbital and all these derivatives that they're talking about, they are for seizures. They do cause a cessation of certain brain activities, but it varies. It varies. Right. When they give you drugs for your dog for lightning, okay, a lot of vets do that. A lot of times they give them these same derivatives. All right?
Yeah,
just to chill them out.
Right.
Yeah, so that they don't, flip out and destroy your house every time.
We're getting ready to kill you, so just chill about it. Just chill. Don't scream, because there's people watching, mm-hmm. So we want to make sure they can't scream out in pain. But evidently this cat did, right? He said, my whole body's burning.
Yeah, because they used one of the,
Well, why don't they just eliminate people from watching it in the first place?
I guess.
And then it doesn't matter
have to be witnessed, though,
or not. Okay, well, you have
to have legal witnesses, right?
Okay, so you have appointed people to witness it.
You have to have legal witnesses. A lot of times they allow even the victims' families to attend.
Do you think they're upset that the guy suffered?
There has to be a doctor present to assure the fact that this man's sentence was carried out.
Yeah.
Because even though a judge ruled about it,
when they go to stick you with the needles to put the IVs in your arms that they're going to pump these lethal drugs into you, they swab your arm. They're getting ready to kill your ass. But they swab your arm. Come on, man. Come on. Seriously?
Or your leg. They used to use that one.
Yeah. They'd go in the femoral artery, but it took longer.
Right. That was the trouble there, is that it took too long. Exactly.
Right.
Well,
I'm seeing in the room too. I'm kind of watching the room, everybody. And hi to everybody that's in there listening to the show tonight. They, they're asking what happened to the gas chamber? What happened to electrocutions? Where's old Sparky?
The gas chamber is suffocation.
So what? I'm sorry.
So's lethal injection, man. They're stopping your muscle. They're stopping your ability to breathe.
I just explained that.
Yeah,
the electric chair, no.
Why?
No.
I wouldn't want to be put to death. Maybe firing squad.
I would take firing squad.
As long as the guy was a good shot. Don't wing me. Put it right through my ticker. And I always wondered why they didn't go for headshots on those either. They go for your pump. They don't go for a headshot.
6-7 guys.
But only one of them's got live rounds, man. The rest of them are blanks.
Right.
Or either that or no, I think it's the other way around.
Guy has a blank.
6 guys have live and one guy has blanks and they don't know who does, so they don't know who,
Yeah, because the film of the Gilmore execution exists.
Right.
So, because I used to have it. And I know that was the way.
So if you think that 6 through the ticker's not messy, Kim.
Well, that's messy too, but right. I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for somebody suffering if they committed such a horrific act. I don't. If somebody stole my child.
Well, then turn them, when they get found guilty, the sentence is 10 minutes alone in the room with the family.
Well, that's right.
An eye for an eye, right?
I agree with that. It should be an eye for an eye.
Because if you guys, if you guys got the balls to beat that guy to death with your bare hands, because that's how you got to do it. We're not giving you any guns or nothing. If you want to beat him to death with your bare hands, then there you go. He's all yours.
I just don't know why we're worried about, humane treatment when the victim wasn't given that same consideration.
Right. They didn't get any options.
I have a couple of problems.
Yeah, this is where we disagree.
Okay.
Lance, I want you to chime in on this too, buddy. On this.
I definitely want to hear from Lance on this too before I even start. Please, Lance, if you're up to it.
I mean, if you're convicted of violent crime, I think you should die the way that you killed the other person. I have no sympathy, zero sympathy for anybody that commits a horrific crime like that and gets convicted with witnesses. There are innocent people that have died, and I know that's a fact.
Yeah, because they trumped up charges against them or, lied about the evidence or whatever.
All right. In January, okay, I approached it. Basically, you feel an eye for an eye, just like Kim does. As a matter of fact, you feel equal measure.
Yeah, if you're dead to rights, guilty, absolutely.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this, because I presented this very same thing to Clyde Lewis myself. Okay? Because he brought this up contemporary to that guy's execution.
All right.
On his show. All right? And that is this. You're going to tell me that as much as we distrust the system and the people that are involved in it now, that type of corruption could not be on the judicial level, that people...
Well, it is. I already know that. I know that. That's why innocent people go to prison.
You want to allow that power to be in the hands of these individuals. The power of life and death is acceptable to you in government hands.
If it's a jury of your peers?
Crime, well, not even a jury of your peers, because that's impossible to get nowadays.
That's ridiculous.
But it's impossible. But, you kill somebody in a robbery, there's witnesses around, it's on video camera. You're guilty dead to rights. So that's not a gray issue there.
Right.
Tell me which
circumstantial evidence, that's a whole different story. That's why I think the death penalty should only be applied if there were,
viable evidence.
Yeah, witnesses. I hate to say witnesses because, in a murder, they're killing one witness. I understand that.
Well, and people lie too.
And people do lie, and eyewitnesses, get things wrong. I know that's a fact too. But, it's always been a tough one with me.
We got Hecty on the call too. I think this might be actually the tech guy.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Feeling better.
Good.
But, when it comes to the death penalty and all,
I was kind of,
well, if there was live video and there was actually, depending on the witnesses as well, on the credibility, I'd say it depends on that. But I do agree with Charlie on some parts of it as well. Having that type of power is very fucking abusive, and they love to silence people that way.
Yeah, that's true. But like I'm saying, if there's, and like Lance said, if you got a pile of evidence sitting in front of everybody and there's videotape and there's, I'm sorry. If you're going to step that far out of line, your humanity's gone and you don't deserve to be on this planet any longer.
Well, Chuck's right. And here's my argument for that. Johnny Cochran.
If it doesn't fit,
there's
you must quit.
There's my argument right there, siding with Chuck. Is the whole system is rigged and the best lawyer can get out of the best evidence sometime and the best lawyer can convict with the least amount of evidence sometimes. So I see where he's going with that.
So the evidence against OJ was a joke, dude. That whole damn trial was a joke. If you think that old busted up football player killed those two people with his bare hands, I'm laughing at you.
No, it was a knife, wasn't it?
Whatever. Whatever. I'm just telling you, that's laughable. He did not do that. I think his kid did it.
Well, yeah, that could be too.
Yeah, there was still a handgun involved with that, but that wasn't released too much to the public. But then there's
a program we were watching where somebody in jail admitted to another prisoner that he actually did it. Remember watching that? On like A&E or something?
There's been all kinds of possible admissions. And
The Sun was a good one, and I remember buying into that one when it came out too.
Yeah, it's a good possibility, but the fact is, but you know what? At the end of the day, you've got 2 people murdered and nobody punished for it.
No, because of a lawyer, and that's what you were just saying about the death penalty. Well, with good lawyers, the best money.
Okay, no problem. And the richest man can get out of anything.
They do already.
That's not a surprise.
No, but what I'm saying is that leaves the rest of us to contend with, in case they feel like setting us up, no problem. This is where I'm objecting to it, is that tell me which part of the system isn't broken right now.
Nothing. Every part of the system's broken. We all know that.
So the judicial branch is as broken as the legislative branch, is as broken as the executive branch, and so on and so on.
Exactly. So don't get caught. That's my advice to you.
Don't get caught, but
dig the hole deep.
Yeah, it's like the degree of brokenness is exponential.
Right. But the thing I'm saying is that, you're arguing against the system that's already in place. I'm just telling you that if the system were correct in any way, that's what they would do. If somebody gets convicted of the crime, they get the time with the family in a locked room. It's just that simple.
I hear you, because I know this. I know very well that if somebody was responsible for the death of somebody that I cared about, and I could prove it to a reasonable doubt in my mind,
I'm beating you to death. The cops won't get called. You're not going to go. You're not going to see the inside of a jail cell.
No,
but isn't there
if I get to you before the cops do?
Right.
But isn't there a lot of profit in keeping a death row inmate alive for a long time?
Of course there is. That's why the appeal system is set up the way it is also.
Right.
And then you turn around, you've got moratoriums that are put into place, and they still put them on death row.
Yeah.
I was, because I recently moved to North Carolina, they were just talking about it on the news. Well, there's this guy here, we just convicted him, and it was horrendous. It's like a 10-year-old girl that he sexually abused, admitted to, then murdered, stuffed somewhere else because his mom was off military training. Okay?
Yeah. Hammy just brought up a good point in the chat room. It's not broken. It's designed to get you. It's designed that way. It was made this way. The system's not broken. It was made this way.
Well, then the ideal that the system originated with is broken.
Yeah. He said it's working exactly as intended.
Oh.
And that's exactly right.
Oh, it's not broken by accident. It's not like, a glass fell off of your kitchen counter.
No, it was designed. It was designed to do exactly what it's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
They changed the laws. Like what I think Jules went over this morning on her show. There's like 50,000 laws on the books. January 1st of this year, there was like 4,700 new laws or something that were added. Just insane. Insane. Wake up in the morning and brush your teeth, you break 3 laws.
Well, there was a meme on that. It said, here's the U.S. Constitution, which is a couple pieces, and this is the rules for the government. And then they showed a stack of paper, and these 50,000 rules are for us.
Right. Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's designed that way. It's exactly designed that way. So.
Most of my life, I supported the idea of the death penalty. Most of my life. But when every single turn I see that the entire system on every single level is past corrupt. Well past corrupt. See, because if it was just corrupt, it would just be a matter of getting enough to pay off the right person. It's way past that now.
Yeah. I don't know. I see where you're going, and I know that you're talking about a utopia type of thing. If the system was, exactly the way it should be, but it's not, it's not. We got to deal with what we got in front of us, right? Like I said, just don't get caught. Just don't get caught.
I hear you. I do hear you.
Because if you do, you might be facing 1,000 years with an injection.
Right.
1,000-year punishment. They've got this drug. We're going to jump into this real quick. We've got like a half hour left, a little over.
So is this in lieu of killing them? Is that what it is?
This would be one of the possible solutions, yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I was wondering when you guys were talking about it.
Right, and some of the people that are proponents of this system of punishment are saying that, you know, some of the punishments don't fit the crimes that the people are doing. Like we were talking about earlier. You know, some people rape a kid and get off in 3 years, and some people get busted with a joint and do life. It just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? The punishments don't fit the crimes. Right. So the people like Mr. Ocelli that don't believe in the death penalty, maybe this is an alternative to that. So if you do a really seriously heinous crime, maybe we can make you suffer for 1,000 years.
But isn't that still a cruel and unusual punishment?
Yeah, there's people on the ACLU that are saying yeah. So let me dive into this story real quick. This is from Business Insider, y'all. I will drop this in the chat room in just a second as soon as I'm done reading it. Future biotechnology could be used to trick a prisoner's mind into thinking they have served a 1,000-year sentence, and a group of scientists have claimed. Philosopher Rebecca Roche is in charge of a team of scholars focused upon the ways futuristic technologies might transform punishment. Dr. Roche claims the prisoner sentences of serious criminals could be made worse by extending their lives. It's like evil, right? That just sounds like evil. Let's torture these people. Speaking to Aeon Magazine. Oh, go ahead, Hecty.
It reminds me of a .hack complex.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Speaking to Aeon Magazine, Dr. Roche said drugs could be developed to distort prisoners' minds into thinking time was passing more slowly. There are a number of psychoactive drugs that distort people's senses of time, so you can imagine developing a pill or a liquid that would make someone feel like they were serving a 1,000-year sentence, she said. A second scenario would be to upload human minds to computers to speed up the rate at which the mind works. She wrote on her blog. This chick got to work for DARPA.
Oh, yeah, and there's a movie coming out now, by the way. Again, I missed the title of it, but I saw the clips of it during this same little TV watching binge I went on. You know, and that movie looks exactly like that book I read years ago where they uploaded the guy's brain into the supercomputer. Yeah. It's exactly the same concept. And, gee, if you can use it for punishment, what else can you do with it?
Right. She goes on to say, if the speed up were a factor of 1,000,000, a millennium of thinking would be accomplished in 8.5 hours. Uploading the mind of a convicted criminal and running it 1,000,000 times faster than normal would enable the uploaded criminals to serve a 1,000-year sentence in 8.5 hours. This would obviously be much cheaper for the taxpayer than extending criminals' lifespans to enable them to serve 1,000 years in real time. 30 years in prison is currently the most severe punishment available in the UK legal system. To me, these questions about technology are interesting because they force us to rethink the truisms we currently hold about punishment. When we ask ourselves whether it's inhumane to inflict a certain technology on someone, we have to make sure that it's not just unfamiliarity that spooks us, Dr. Roche said. So she wants to set a precedent, I think.
Yeah.
Is it really okay to lock someone up for the best part of their life, only the best part of the only life that they will ever have? Or might it be more humane to tinker with their brains and then set them free? We will ask that question. The goal is simply to imagine a bunch of futuristic punishments. The goal is to look at today's punishments through the lens of the future. So that's the end of that article. This woman sounds extremely disturbed.
No, dangerous.
In a later interview, she said that to use the drug though would render the synapses of the victim useless.
So turn them back on society as a complete vegetable.
In a vegetative state.
Right. Then they're going to have to be looked after by the state for the rest of their lives and fed and have their bottoms wiped. And
you got to, you got to feed the prison industrial complex somehow, don't you?
Right.
Or you could send them out more
Go ahead, Hector.
dangerous.
Well, she reminds me of someone that I knew with this type of project, to where they were testing this on comatose victims, to where they can rewrite the mind and also rework how the brain works and make them into like NPC AI for like online games. And
that was that stuff they started playing with in the 60s when they figured out that dopamine was effective in changing temporal shifts. Right?
Yes, mm-hmm. And I call it a Pluto's Kiss effect because this type of AI went rampant on a few online games. I won't mention which ones. But there was a story that was written about it, very similar with what the effects are of like the person falls into a comatose type state and yet it has various effects. The experiment that I'm talking about did run a little rampant, but let's just say people that were first testing VR never really talked about it too much.
And actually, that's the one that they also combined with the biometric measurements, in the real-time biometric measurements combined with the waves, right? With like the more advanced EKG along with the biometric measurements. That one?
Yeah, there is that one, but then there's more of a recent one back around 2000, where they wanted to see how far they can recombinate the mind to what they want. Basically alter it to what they feel and shape. And what became mind zombie in a state is what they like to call a splicer. Very interesting, but I don't really care for the type of technology unless it is.
That's because MK Ultra or MK Delta is not dead. That's why.
Yes, I know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
how long have they been working on these time dilution drugs? I want to know. You know?
1958 is the first study that I know about.
For these time dilution drugs that make you extend out your consciousness to 1,000 years?
Project Artichoke, yeah.
Artichoke was one of the first few, but I know what they used waterboarding from like World War I, World War II and all that. Mm-hmm. They had a similar dealing, but they worked up a little deal with the Chinese to where this little cocktail that could work out with it, to where it did extend it, but it was supposed to be like a drug of favor for like all these Ronin type prep that they were having fun with in Japan and all.
They also tinkered with that in the 60s in the Canadian hospitals. And when they did that, it rendered most of their subjects, vegetative or dead.
Nice.
So that was what the problem was.
Dead men tell no tales.
Wow. Yes. And they actually did it on the researchers as well, which I found sad. But
yeah, generally the ones that stepped out of line or had a moral objection to what was going on would suddenly find themselves having problems.
That or a nice little car bomb. I'll leave it at that with the Hastings.
Right.
Let me pose this question to everybody. And I'm going to start with you, Lance, because you've been really quiet most of the show. If you were arrested for a heinous crime, murder, you went to court and you were sentenced to life or death or this drug, and you could do your entire sentence in 8.5 hours and be released, would you do the drug?
And then I'd come out a vegetable?
But I don't think they're going to tell you that going in. But they're going to tell you that you're going to serve 1,000 years of pain and suffering. But it's only going to take you 8.5 hours, and then you can be free. 1,000 years is what it's going to feel like.
Well, I've already been here over that long anyway, just not in this container. Don't know.
Yeah, but you're not fully consciousness. You don't have a full consciousness of all those other recycles. No. This, I think you will. I mean, well, if it leaves you a drooling idiot, maybe not. But I'm fully on board with the fact that during this 8.5 hours, you are going to feel every single second of that 1,000-year punishment.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want that.
But if there's no retention of it at the end of it.
Oh, wow.
So you do it, Chuck?
If there's no retention at the end, there's no retention. How do you can't possibly...
But you're not going to know that going in. I mean, we know that now because these people have divulged it. But I mean, if you were sitting in front of the judge and he gave you this option, you can either take the death penalty or you can serve 35 plus years in prison, or you can do your time in 8.5 hours with this 1,000-year drug. And then we'll turn you free.
Shoot me.
Yeah, I'd rather die.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about you? Yeah? Hecty?
Yeah, I'd rather be shot in the head, but there was something else that with this research I did see that they're not talking about in this. With the psychopaths that they tested on within the 80s as well, this is something that it's not going to be too much out there, but with all these psychopaths, they put them in this type of state for at least 3 days nonstop, and generally they end up breaking their mind. But here's what was interesting in how it turned out. The minds end up reforging themselves into a different format. It's like how a lot of your geniuses break and reform.
Right. Yeah, there's a very thin line between insanity and high intelligence.
Yes.
So...
Any psychological programming, you first break the subject.
True. I mean, that's what basic training is all about when you go into the military. Lance, right? They break you, and then they make you a man.
Brainwashing.
Yep. And then they turn you into that lean, green killing machine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we looked forward to it.
John Wayne, baby. Wave that flag.
Yep.
Oh, reminds me how my brother was broken down in the Air Force. I know that type of dealing.
Yeah, that's what that's all about, man. It's all about brainwashing, making you believe the way they want you to believe. Everybody's evil. All the people that aren't like us humans are
Go kill that guy.
Right.
He's the enemy because we say he's the enemy.
He has brown skin. Kill him.
If they could offer a death sentence penalty that would be fair to all sides, do what the old Indians do. Put them at a little bit over a watery grave, you could say, in a barrel that they couldn't move. I know it's kind of depraved on this one. But let the family
up to their necks in the tide, and let the tide come in.
No, let the family decide if they sink or swim.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
Yeah. Sort of dealing.
Leave it up to compassion. I was talking about that earlier today. It's and I think
you're going to get religious people in there. Oh, I can't kill anybody.
Well, my objection.
If it was your kid, if it was your kid that they found all beat up in a plastic bag,
there's plenty of Christians that say forgive and
forget.
Yeah, I mean, turn the other cheek.
Walk. Just let the psychos walk the planet.
There's a lot of people like Chuck that don't believe in the death penalty.
Do what thou wilt. There's
a lot of people that don't believe in the death penalty.
No, I'm not.
Mr. Crowley?
Aleister Crowley, no. No.
Well, all right.
Let's just say if it was my kid, let's just say they'd be getting a visit with a good baseball bat and they won't be able to walk for a long time.
Yeah, you're not going to make it to the courtroom, brother. Not if I get my hands on you. Not if I get my hands on you. Yeah.
The trouble is though, and this is the dilemma for me, because I know that I would react the same way. And if somebody delivered one of my babies to me in a bag, they better hope that they're in a cell.
But you know what? If you simply say that in front of a cop now, they are obligated to place you under arrest.
I know that.
Yeah.
And you can look at that cop and you can say, what if it was your kid, man? What if it was I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I can't. That's a threat. That's a threat to another human. I can't let you go. It's just ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. You know, what did they do back in the caveman days? I think they took your ass out. Yeah. They took your ass out in the back of the cave and crushed your skull. You know, that's just the way it's supposed to be, man. It's like, what is it? Survival of the fittest. It's human nature. It's, you reach that certain point where the rage takes over.
That's why we're a republic and not a democracy. Because if we were a democracy, that would happen everywhere. Because then, you know, a group of people gets together and says, let's hang them.
Right. It's like all the wolves deciding on what the sheep's having for dinner.
Right. Exactly.
That's putting it lightly.
You don't want to be at the whim of the lynch mob.
Then don't get caught. Like I said earlier, don't get caught.
But you don't have to get caught, Jim.
Or don't do the You can get paid nowadays, though.
But that's the problem. There are guys that are getting released all the time because of this the newer technology now turning around and showing that they were railroaded.
Oh, right. I know. And then you get the whole aspect of, well, if that cop framed this dude, then we got to look at all his other cases.
That's what happened with Henry Wade, who was the Dallas district attorney at the time of the Kennedy assassination, declared to the nation that Oswald was guilty. Henry Wade, the same guy, by the way, Roe versus Wade. Okay.
Well, wasn't there some chick here just recently? Some gal that worked for the, I can't remember what state it was now, so I'm not going to lie about it, but she worked for the crime lab and was falsifying all kinds of shit. And they caught her doing it, and they had to go back, and I think like 40 or 4,000 other cases or something like that were all, you know, cause they arrested her. I don't know if she's going to do time or not, but you know, they prosecuted her.
The guy who succeeded Wade in Dallas was one of his people. After that, another guy came in named Craig Watkins, and something like 20 death penalty cases have been overturned.
Yeah. That's how corrupt the system is, like you were talking earlier. It's just, you know, it's how much money are they going to make? How much, you know, and that's, what, Doty used to always say on Jules' show. If you ever go to court and you have to go, you know, before a judge or whatever, the first thing that should come out of your mouth is, Judge, do you own any stock in, blah, 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 blah. Any one of the industrial prisons that we have in this country. Because if you do, that's a conflict of interest, and you need to recuse yourself from this case.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask the prosecutor the same thing. You know, do you have any stock in that company? Does your 401k have any stock in that company? Because if it does, that's a conflict of interest. I'm sorry, you need to recuse yourself.
That would almost leave judges to have no stock in anything, because you could have stock in a food services company that serves them.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
The company that makes the blankets.
They shouldn't have. Yeah, they should not. They should not. If
they
you're
should not
in
be
a public,
able to hedge their bets with humans. That's simple.
Right. Well, if you're in public service, you shouldn't be beholden to anybody. You should receive all of your money from the taxpayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you should be fully liable for everything that comes out of your mouth. You should be fully liable. I think all police officers should have to have liability insurance that they pay for out of their pocket. If they get convicted of some kind of heinous bullshit, it shouldn't come from the taxpayers. It shouldn't come from the county. It shouldn't come from the state. When the judgment's served, you know, for the accused, when they get the $1 million judgments or the $10 million judgments, that should come from his insurance company and out of his pocket. And if he has to sell his house, then tough shit on him. You shouldn't have been a corrupt cop. That's called karma. It comes around and pops you in the mouth every once in a while when you're not looking.
Yep.
Yeah, that little QB loves to keep buying when it does.
Hey man, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of things. And we've gotten so far away from the nature of things, thinking that, you know, just because this guy achieved this position, he knows how to run my life better than I do. Not.
That's it. What it really comes down to is the destruction of the natural order of things.
That's right.
This is what creates, and I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but I really don't care. It's the reality. A lot of people that commit a lot of these crimes are created by this kind of diversion
system
from the system. So the system creates them and the system swallows them back up. Okay?
Yeah.
This is all about the deviation from true humanity. This is what the problem is.
Instead of natural order, we went to law and order, thinking that man knows more than nature.
Dum dum.
We come from nature, stupids.
And to nature so shall every bit of us return.
That's right.
And forth once we can.
Let me give you a big heads up, everybody out there. If you take your vaccinations on a regular basis and you drink your fluoridated water and you suck down sodas and eat your fast food, you don't have your connection with the ether anymore. So don't try to claim to be smarter than me.
Can I ask a vaccination question?
Sure.
Since I got some experts on here.
Sure.
What about whooping cough? If nobody got vaccinated against whooping cough?
Whooping cough is kind of bullshit to get with.
Yeah, that's not even really that's not even an actual.
Okay, vaccines as they were developed initially, not as they are controlled by Big Pharma now, but as they were developed initially, were a wise idea. Okay.
To get the actual thing under control.
I do not think that vaccines have ever done any good whatsoever. There is nothing on this planet that Mother Nature cannot cure. That is a fact.
Well, I agree with that too, but I mean, I'm, trying for some ammunition because, that's, the kind of stuff that my wife throws back at me.
Whooping cough.
When she gets her,
dude, Google it. Whooping
she
cough.
Just got hers a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, whooping cough is a made-up disease. It is a made-up bunch of bullshit. Go
she didn't
Google
get the
it.
flu vaccine, did you?
That just came out recently in the last
awful.
couple of years. They said that whooping cough is a bunch of bullshit because they had this big Hollywood push to go get your kid vaccinated. And if you can't, get yourself vaccinated and blah, blah, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's nothing but pharmaceuticals trying to sell their bullshit to you.
Okay, but medicine in general, though, are you against medicine in general, Jim?
I am against allopathic medicine, absolutely. It's a bunch of made-up garbage. Now, if you want to be a homeopath, if you want to go to Mother Nature and find your cures, then I'm all for it, brother. I'm all for it. But you're not going to be wearing a white coat and calling yourself a medical doctor. You're a practitioner because you constantly practice. You don't know what you're doing. You constantly got to practice. No.
Okay. I understand that. But the thing is that medicine in general, to try and treat any sort of disease or to try and prevent any sort of disease, when it's not homeopathic, when it's not exactly, you can argue a little bit. When they took and, cured the cowpox by sitting there and drawing out part of the, during the original, developments of this kind of stuff, and they used some of the pus basically to introduce it into, another animal in order to prevent it from spreading, so that their immune system would develop an immunity to it. You object to even that concept?
Yeah, I do, dude. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
There is a natural ordered things on this planet. And everything happens for a reason. When it comes to Mother Nature, everything happens for a reason. Now, when man gets his spoon in the mix, then different things happen. You come up with different diseases because of different things that they introduced. Why did those cows come up with that ailment in the first place? Is it because they started feeding them a different kind of feed? Maybe. The whole mad cow disease was because they were feeding cattle.
Right.
Cattle are not supposed to be, they're not a carnivorous animal. They don't eat each other.
no animal is supposed to cannibalize itself.
Exactly.
It always creates problems.
Exactly. That's that's what I'm saying. You know, you gotta, don't look for a cure, look for the cause. When you eliminate the cause, there's no need for a cure. Dig where I'm going with that?
I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying. And I agree if we could get the whole system to change, but again, you got to live around all these other people.
Anything to do with pharmacology or the medical practice is bullshit. It's all bullshit. There is nothing good that comes from Eli Lilly or Bayer or Syngenta or any of the other freaking companies that try to pump their crap into our bodies. That is a continuing system to keep you ill, to keep you going to your doctor so they can bleed your wallet and bleed your insurance company dry. It is nothing but a game. And if you trust yourself to a doctor, you, along with everybody else on this planet, is going to wind up dying.
Well, do you object
you'll die
at all?
A lot quicker.
Okay. But do you object at all to the extraction of elements from plants? I mean, why not just utilize the entire plant in its whole form?
Exactly. If there's something that's in that plant that makes it good for you, i.e. cannabis, cures cancer, then consume that plant however you can.
But it's only oil.
But it's the manipulation and the non-THC bonded part of the plant that does a lot of good for, say, like children and stuff like that. So should we give them the whole plant with the THC in it, or should we manipulate the plant?
I don't think you should manipulate anything that's on this earth for your own good. That's called being selfish.
So then opium
if you can juice it, you can, however you need to. There's ways of extracting the oil from the plant. But to go in there and genetically manipulate it or anything like that, no. Use it in its natural form. That's what it's designed for. If you don't want to smoke it, if you think it's not good to smoke, then eat the shit. Your body will break it down and utilize it how it needs it. There are cannabinoid receptors in your brain that are designed specifically for that plant.
Yeah, there's no good out of smoking it. I mean, I'll admit
that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. You can believe whatever you want to breed, man. I'm telling you, that's not true. You'll find people that'll tell you that it's not good. You'll find people that tell you that it is.
I think the oil is extremely beneficial. The oil of the, cannabis oil that cures cancer. But I mean, I don't see how smoking anything. Lungs were not designed to take in smoke, whether it's cigarette, pipe, weed. Doesn't matter. The lungs weren't designed to take in smoke. I don't believe that smoking weed has any medicinal value other than maybe nausea for a cancer patient. It's the oil that makes you good. It's not smoking it.
Well, if you grow your own plant and you dry it and you bake with it, then just eat it.
Well, yeah, you make your own
juice
butter.
it.
Yeah, so you make your own butter then basically at that point. And there's nothing, I mean, you're eating the whole thing at that point.
Right. Magical
You're
butter.
not smoking it. You're not smoking it.
Go ahead,
But you also,
I was going to say, when it comes with cross-pollination, you have to have the high in THC for it to where it's done right. If
the THC,
those guys in Denver are growing a strain that's almost without any of the THC bonded stuff.
Yeah, that's why arguing against that with like the cross-pollination deal. But even
that's all natural. That's all natural. Unless you're in there trying to do something to the DNA structure of it, genetically modifying like Monsanto.
Yes, that's true.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm against. If it's anti-nature, if it doesn't grow out of the ground naturally, like a Terminator seed, right? You plant it once, it won't regrow. It's not a perennial. Sorry, that's not right. That's not right.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of shit that I'm against. And everything that comes out of a pharmaceutical factory is a derivative of oil. It's breaking down of oil into its chemical forms and then putting it into a pill.
Yeah, I know, with its chemical formula, yeah.
Right, and like 90% of it's petroleum. It's petroleum. You're eating oil, people. You know, you think it's really going to cure you? Get a effing grip on reality.
Yeah, it's like even their mistakes have some interesting results.
Well, all it does is mask the problem. It doesn't make anything go away. Radiation, yeah, sure, it kills the cancer, along with the rest of your fucking body.
Sure.
The chemicals from the chemotherapy.
Exactly.
Well,
like I said at the beginning, if you listen, and this kind of information was in the Library of Alexandria, I promise you it was there. There is nothing on this planet that occurs that cannot be cured by something else on this planet.
That's why there's so many different varieties of plants and everything else on this planet to cure every ailment on the planet.
Exactly.
I'm with you. I've firmly believed that for years.
Yes, I do agree.
And somebody that's been into holistic medicine for their whole life. I met the guy out in Arizona. It's the truth. I mean, that stuff's been handed down and handed down and handed down and it's been covered up for a long time. Hemp can save this planet. Everybody knows it now. Everybody that's on Facebook, if you haven't seen those memes, wake up. Hemp can save this entire planet. It draws radiation out of the soil. It makes more clothing and textile fabrics and stuff than 6 acres of trees, just 1 acre of hemp. You know, it's ridiculous that this plant has been demonized for so many decades.
Well, it was one industry, the forestry industry, that stopped it back in the 40s or whatever.
Exactly.
Talked the president into signing it because they would lose too much money.
No, yeah, let's kill the lungs of the planet instead of using this plant.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, geniuses.
Oh, it's for profit. It was a profit decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Those screwballs really had it out for that type of...
I mean, if it wasn't for a profit, we wouldn't need oil right now. I mean, the technology exists to be oil free. There's not as much profit in it.
Right.
Let's just say they'd make zip on profit anyway if you really knew how they're doing. But,
they have all the technology out there to give us free energy. They have all that. They took Tesla's books and they hid them. You know, Edison had that done by all of his friends in Congress because of his fat wallet. Oh, so all that technology's out. They still have it. You know, it's in the Library of Congress. All of Tesla's inventions. And, you know, DARPA's got their hands deep into that shit because that's how they came up with that new shipborne laser that they have. And a couple of the other things, you know, the sonic weapons that they're using now, that's all Tesla tech.
Yeah, a lot of Tesla stuff is spread between everyone.
So it's out there. It's out there.
Yeah. I know where some of the research is gone to. Library of Congress got some of it. I know England in Central Library has got some of it, and Russia did get some of it, but they kind of had their own version of Tesla tech.
Yeah, there's a guy
some
out
of it
there.
resides in the Vatican Library as well.
I bet.
Well, there's a guy that works for UC Berkeley called Eric Dollard, or I think he used to work for UC Berkeley. He was a professor out there. He did get a hold of 5 of Tesla's books, and he has them in his own personal collection. And he's continued on with some of his research, trying to get things figured out and, you know, try to bring it to bear. And he's got a lot of resistance from federal agencies and stuff like that, but he continues doing what he's doing. So, and he has a YouTube channel if anybody wants to check him out. It's Eric Dollard, Dollard.
Mind if I tell you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
With every DARPA person, they're supposed to keep a journal. And with every journal, you're supposed to... It's like how they keep track of everything with all these scientists and all. It's like with everything they keep track of. They keep one copy with us, but then, like, whatever we want with our notes gets spread around to different places. Some of my research has sent into New York from what I used to do.
And you know that for a fact, that they've continued on with your research?
If you're seeing any of the drone shit now and then, you could probably get an idea because some of the AI script.
Nice. So you don't have any copyright to any of that? They're just going to steal all your shit?
I don't really care if they take it. It was meant for just for firefighting, for what the original purpose was. But they bastardized and used it for their own manipulation. I figured that was going to happen.
Right.
I burned some of the main research, but if they want to get, you gotta get from my head.
You know, Pelosi's going to be pissed at you, man, because she saw a drone flying outside her house.
Let's just say a lot of the hackers I know. Oh.
Go ahead.
A lot of the hackers I know of lately have been flying these drones right in front of their houses. Let's just say this little women's club that Germany's Prime Minister, Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi, let's just say they are giving them a better return on their own checks.
Yeah. They were pissed when they found out the CIA was bugging their phones too. You know, it's okay. It's okay if you watch everybody else, but don't watch the watchers. You can't watch the watchers.
Something else that cracked me up.
What's that?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Chuck.
What I was going to say is something else that cracked me up, and I tried to message Wendy about it, I think, this morning. She brought up that shooting at Norfolk.
Yeah, I wanted Lance. We got like 2 minutes left. That was 20 miles away from his house. He didn't even hear about it until I told him.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to explain to Wendy this morning, and I guess I mistyped a little bit. I was trying to explain to her because she said, why was a civilian there? And I tried to tell her that NSA-based operations were there between Navy and civilians 10 years ago, to my knowledge, directly. So
Lance said you can walk right up to those ships.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to get up to him, but this guy was a trucker. I just saw the latest release on it. He was not authorized to be down there.
You can get tours of that facility.
Not at 2:00 in the morning.
It was but I'm just saying. Now, I've been down to the docks. I mean, you just park in the parking lot and you can basically walk up to any of the ships. I mean, yeah, there's some people milling around and people at the bottom of them, but 11:40 at night, it's not hard.
Was it a lover's quarrel or something?
No, I don't think so. They don't know.
Was he Al-Qaeda?
No, he was a truck driver that had a TWIC card, which is like a contractor's card. Yeah. He drove his 18-wheeler onto the base like he was delivering a load.
And then just got out and started shooting.
No, he didn't have a gun. He walked up to the officer on the deck, took his gun, and then another guy started running up, and the guy running up to help him got shot, and then the police got up on the guy and shot him. So, the only guy that got killed, the guy that got his gun taken away didn't get killed.
Wow, the truck driver did.
The truck driver did, and then the guy that tried helping the officer on guard, it was his gun that, shot the other guy.
Wow.
Yeah, notice 100 theories. Notice 100 theories on Malaysian pilots, but no theories on that guy, right?
Zero.
Peace and love, everybody. We'll continue this on Friday for sure.
Sure
I don't
thing.
know if Chuck and Kim will be able to come back.